Praises and glory goes to our mighty power, Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations unto the elect men feeding the sheep of Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, in sincerity and truth with his great gospel coming out of our Bible. Coming out of our Bible. And we're going to start with the scriptures. I'm going to go to the book of Revelation. It's the book of Revelation 11 and 8. It says, "And their dead bodies shall lie in the streets of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified." Where also our Lord was crucified. And where's that place at? Here in America. America, spiritual Sodom, spiritual Egypt. And this is where our Lord was crossed out, where they put up this image right here of Cesare Borgia. The deceptive image to lead people astray, right? Because when you go into the scriptures, you read about a man with woolly hair and dark skin, as if it was burned in the furnace. But here Esau then gave you what? A pale body man with long stringy hair, right? Even the gospel of Jesus is not according to scriptures, right? Because don't forget, there was no letter J. So we're not dealing with this Jesus character that these Catholic Christians be pushing. Right? And Jesus is not coming back to save America, right? That's the spirit they thinking. Like it says, "And their dead bodies shall lie in the streets of that great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified," right? So when they crossed out our Lord, they put up this image when people are waiting for this character to come and deliver them, to come and deliver them, right? They really believe Babylon the Great, they really believe Cesare Borgia is going to make America great again. When you read in the scriptures, the Lord's coming back to destroy America. And his name is Yahushai. His name is Yahushai, and everything is pointing to that destruction, right? We're in the times of what? War and conflict, right? War and conflict. What's going on in Israel? Israel and Iran. That's biblical. That's biblical, right? It says breaking. Trump says Iran and Israel will make a deal, vows we will have peace soon. That's what he said, and then what happens? U.S. helping Israel interact Iranian missiles, right? They said they're going to have peace soon, right? What the Bible say about that peace? Let's get that. Bear with me. This is the book of like the internet slow. This is the book of 1 Thessalonians 5 and 3. It says, "For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction come upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape." Right? How long they've been talking about peace in the Middle East? Right? Peace in the Middle East. And you ain't had no peace in the Middle East. All you have is conflict in the Middle East, right? This from your president, Donald J. Trump. It says the U.S. had nothing to do with the attack on Iran, right, where they lost their generals, right? They killed them generals. They holding a meeting. Next thing you know, missiles, they rocked them and killed them, right? It says the U.S. had nothing to do with the attacks in Iran. Tonight, if we are attacked in any way, shape, or form by Iran, the full strength of the might of the U.S. armed force will come down on you at levels never seen before. However, we can easily get a deal done between Iran and Israel and end this bloody conflict, right? And the only way they're going to get this deal done is to get Iran to stop trying to go after nuclear arms, right? Iran is trying to gain nuclear capability. They want them to stop their nuclear program, but Iran is like, no, we ain't going to stop that because the Lord done put in their hearts to get this nuclear capability to what? To destroy what? Israel. To destroy Israel, right? It's all biblical. Matter of fact, let me get this other verse. Here we go. I'm going to go to the book of Isaiah. Bear with me. It's the book of Isaiah 9. And let's start at 5. It says, For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood. But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire, right? This World War III is going to be with burning and fuel of fire. That's why they don't want Iran to get nuclear capability. That's why they don't want North Korea to get nuclear capability, right? That's why they don't want certain countries with that type of power, because they know that power is going to be used against who? America. It's going to be used against the land of Israel, right? The Lord said she's going to be burnt with fire. Who? Babylon the Great. It says only in 1 hour shall her judgment come. Bear with me. This is the book of Revelation 18. We're going to start at we're going to start at verse 16, and it says, "In saying at last, that great city," right? We was talking about that great city, spiritual Sodom, spiritual Egypt. And that's saying at last, that great city that was clothed in fine linen, and purple, and scarlet, and decked with gold, and precious stones, and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, right? All this riches and wealth in Babylon the Great is going to come to nothing. It's going to take 1 hour for the Lord to destroy this motherfucker, right? It says, for in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster, and all the company in ships, and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, right? The Bible said this will be with burning and fuels of fire. And cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city, right? This great city, that spiritual Sodom, spiritual Egypt, where our Lord was crucified. They gave you the fake Jesus, right? That do what thou wilt. Right, you could be wicked, you could be a sodomite, you could marry a tree, a dog, you could do whatever the fuck you want in this wicked society. That's what made it great. The wickedness of this place. The wickedness of this place. And cried and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on their heads, and cried weeping and wailing, saying, at last, that great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour she is what? She is made desolate. Right? It says, rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, right? We're going to rejoice when this happens, you prophets, right? You men that's been speaking about the things to come, that's been talking about the end of Babylon the Great. It says, rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for the Most High have what? Avenged you on her. That's what it's all about, vengeance. The Lord's about to get vengeance for us on her. It says, and a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon the Great, spiritual Sodom, spiritual Egypt, which is America, that great city Babylon, be thrown down and shall be found no more at all, right? America is going to be a memorial for how not to be as a country, right? Because it's going to be burning for a long time, right? It's going to be burning for a long time, and it's going to become uninhabitable. That is the future of spiritual Sodom, spiritual Egypt. And these people, they know this is coming. They know this is coming. They know war is coming, right? It says Trump vetoed Israeli plan to kill Iran's supreme leader, U.S. officials tells AP. Right, these are all these different news articles coming across because they know it's going down. It says a magnitude 4.3 earthquake was detected near the city of Zahedan in Iran's Baltistan province, which borders Pakistan. Nuclear test explosions. It says nuclear test explosions typically results in earthquakes with a magnitude of 5.0 or greater if it's possible, right? So in other words, they're testing their weapons. They're testing their weapons, man. These weapons about to be used on who? America, spiritual Sodom, spiritual Egypt. It says the Hafia refinery is burning. This refinery makes 80% of Israel's fuel, including those for jets, for fighter jets. This will cripple Israel for a few months, right? This is biblical. This is biblical. I'm going to read the book of Daniel 2, verse 44. It says, let's read the New International Version. It says, in the time of those kings, the Most High of heaven will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed, right? The kingdom of heaven, and it's being set up right now. It says they're looking for the kingdom, but the kingdom is within you, right? You've seen the elect being set up on the earth through this gospel, through the preaching of this word, right? It says in the time of those kings, right? The Most High of heaven will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed, nor will it be left to another people. It will crush all those kingdoms and bring them to the end, to an end. But it itself will endure forever, right? The New Living Translation, during the reigns of those kings, the Most High of heaven will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed. What kings? The heathens. It will crush all these kingdoms in nothingness, and it will stand forever. I'm going to read the book of Luke 21 and 24. It says, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away into captives and they shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, right? Because right now we are in the kingdom where these Gentiles rule, right? So the Lord's coming back. He's going to bring down these Gentiles and set up his kingdom, which is going to endure forever, right? It says, they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And that's what you're seeing happen. The time of the Gentiles are coming to an end. That's why businesses are vanishing, right? That's why poverty is exploding in these different countries. It ain't just America. Go in Europe. Go in these different European countries. Motherfuckers are starving. Jobs is vanishing. It's riots and fighting on the streets. Same thing in Africa. Same thing in the Middle East is a war zone. Right, the Middle East is a war zone. You go to China, man, the motherfucking country, they turning on each other over there. Right, they tired of President Xi and his fucking satanic, evil ass. Not even gonna say satanic. His Esau wannabe system. Right, all they do is rob and steal from the people, oppress the people. Right, they learned from Esau, partakers of Edom, partakers of Babylon. Right, that's the spirit of them goddamn Moabites. They want to be just like the so-called white man. This 2 Ezra 16 and 35. It says, hear now these things and understand them, ye servants of the Lord. Behold, the word of the Lord, receive it, believe it. Right, it says, receive it, believe not the gods of whom the Lord spake. I'm read that again. 2 Ezra 16 and 35. It says, hear now these things and understand them, ye servants of the Lord. Behold, the word of the Lord, receive it, believe not the gods of whom the Lord spake of, the gods of the other nations. The gods of the other nations. It says, behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack. Right, the famine, the pestilence, the wars, the civil unrest. Right, it says, behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack, as when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son, with 2 or 3 hours of her birth pain, great pains compass her womb. Right now we're in the time of great pains. Right, you got fucking Israel and Iran at it. That is the great pains, because that's going to lead to what? World War fucking 3. Nuclear annihilation. Right, it says, great pains compass her womb, which pains when the child cometh forth they slack not a moment. Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth. And the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side. O my people, hear my word, make you ready to the battle. Right? It says, make you ready to the battle. The Lord talking to Israel. Right? The Lord talking to Israel, right? It says, even so shall not the plagues. Let me go back. It says, even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth. And the world shall mourn, right? People are in a state of sorrow. You got Edomites complaining, oh my God, I can't even afford to buy a house. I do not have the same opportunity as my parents had, my grandparents had. Yeah, because it's the end of your kingdom. It's the end of your society. It says, even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side. O my people, hear my word, make you ready to thy battle in those days. And in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth. Right? I'm going to read that again. O my people, hear my word, make you ready to thy battle. And in those evils, right, when all hell fucking start breaking loose, be even as pilgrims upon the earth. Right? Because this ain't no time to get comfortable and setting up shop in this city and that city. Right? Especially when the Lord about to destroy this whole fucking city, this great city, which is spiritual Sodom, spiritual Egypt.